public appearance. Cameras were rolling, security teams were watching every movement, staff members had rehearsed the schedule for weeks.
Worry or stress around family side of things, that does overwhelm me quite a bit.
An official royal visit runs like a carefully planned operation. Every minute is locked in, every step is approved ahead of time, and every conversation is expected before it happens. Every person who speaks, walks up, or even stands in a certain spot is cleared in advance by a team whose job is to keep anything unexpected from happening. Protocol is not just about protecting dignity.
I think I remember.
It is about controlling what the public gets to see and keeping surprises to an absolute minimum. But Catherine moved right through that system without any hesitation. She did not avoid it or work around it. She walked straight toward a man that nobody on her team had planned for her to meet. That one unscripted moment says more about her than countless polished public appearances ever could. The visit to the National Maritime Museum in Cornwall had been prepared for weeks by advisors, communications staff, and security teams working behind the scenes. Every route had been mapped out, every timing checked, and every face expected to be in Catherine's view would have been listed in the briefing she reviewed the night before. After more than a decade of royal duties, staying calm under pressure is not something she puts on for cameras. It has become second nature, and the entire structure of these visits depends on that steady approach.
Nobody inside the National Maritime Museum expected Princess Catherine to suddenly abandon royal protocol in the middle of a heavily controlled public appearance. Cameras were rolling, security teams were watching every movement, staff members had rehearsed the schedule for weeks. Then, Catherine froze after spotting one elderly man standing quietly among the volunteers. Witnesses say her entire expression changed instantly before she suddenly walked away from handlers and rushed directly toward him. Security reportedly panicked because nobody knew who.
An experienced surgeon moves through an operating room without wasting a single movement, and Catherine handles these carefully managed events with that same level of focus. That is exactly why what happened next stood out so much. She did not hesitate or casually wander over. There was no polite delay or uncertain glance. She stopped, made her decision in an instant, and walked directly toward a man her team had never expected to be there. She stopped because she recognized him right away. This was not the kind of polite smile you give someone who looks familiar. It was the kind of instant recognition that makes you move before you even have time to think.
Moment that sent the internet into meltdown. Catherine wrapped the old man in a full emotional hug while the crowd stood completely silent watching the future Queen of England ignore every royal rule she had been trained to follow. Moments later, the truth exploded. The mysterious man was Jim Embry, Catherine's former history teacher from over 25 years ago, and suddenly the entire crowd started crying.
In that moment, Catherine's usual public composure shifted. The carefully managed version seen during official engagements seemed to disappear, replaced by a reaction that no royal protocol could have planned for. There was no formal handshake and no traditional greeting. Instead, she stepped forward, wrapped him in a genuine embrace, and stayed there for a moment. Security appeared more alert. Staff paused, and people watching looked on with surprise. The crowd quickly started wondering the same thing. Who was this man? Almost nobody there knew the answer. The cameras could not explain it, and he was not someone her team had expected to see. That unexpected connection turned a routine royal visit into a moment that caught everyone's attention.
They were so good to sing, actually. There's a lot of mixed feelings between lots of excitement and nervousness.
The man was Jim Embry, a retired history teacher who was volunteering at the National Maritime Museum that day. His appearance was not part of the official schedule. There had been no advance notice, no special arrangement, and his name was not included in any briefing documents. More than 25 years earlier, Jim Embry had taught history at St Andrew's School in Pangbourne, Berkshire. Catherine had once been one of the students sitting in his classroom, wearing her school uniform, with her books open and listening to his lessons. She had no way of knowing that one day she would become part of the history people talk about. Yet the time she spent in that classroom clearly stayed with her through the years.
I am optimistic. I'm generally a very optimistic person.
This morning, Prince William sharing some rare personal insights with Eugene Levy.
Yeah, I think stuff to do with family overwhelms me quite a bit. You know, worry or stress around family side of things, that does overwhelm me quite a bit. But in terms of, you know, doing the job and things like that, I don't feel too overwhelmed by that.
One detail that many reports overlooked is how quickly she recognized him. Her reaction was immediate. She moved before there was time to think it through, and she did not glance toward her team for guidance. Even more surprising, the meeting was never included in any official briefing. Palace communications staff had no indication that Jim Embry would be volunteering at the museum that day. That makes the moment genuinely unexpected, not just a dramatic story. Jim was there as a volunteer, and their meeting happened naturally.
Make sure you give them the security and the safety that they need. And we're a very open family, so we talk about, you know, things that bother us and things that trouble us. But you never quite know the knock-on effects it can have.
And the prince stressing the importance of his work-life balance.
Because for me, the most important thing in my life is family, and everything is about the future.
After more than 25 years, Catherine finally had the chance to express something she had carried with her for decades. Holding his arms, she looked directly at him and said, "The things you taught me, I now teach to my children." That single sentence says a great deal. The lessons Jim shared in his classroom in Berkshire stayed with Catherine long after her school days ended. Years later, she passed those same values and lessons on to George, Charlotte, and Louise. It is a reminder of how a teacher's influence can continue across generations, reaching far beyond the classroom, even into the life of a future king. Jim Embry did more than teach Catherine. In many ways, the lessons he shared have continued through her and into the next generation.
You put on sort of brave-faced. It's really, it's a really difficult journey. You're not necessarily in the clinical team any longer, but you're not able to function normally at home as you perhaps once used to. And actually someone to help talk you through that, show you and guide you through that.
He likely never imagined that the values he taught in a classroom would one day be passed along inside the royal family. That is much bigger than a simple thank you. It shows how real influence spreads, not through titles, ceremonies, or headlines, but through teachers who care about their students and genuinely make a difference every single day. After the visit, reporters caught up with Jim Embry to ask about the emotional reunion.
I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who's the country in supporting families and children in the early years. I love spending time outside, and that has stuck with me for my whole life.
By then, the story was already spreading online, but his response was calm and thoughtful rather than dramatic. He remembered Catherine from long before the royal spotlight, before the cameras followed her every move, and before the world knew her name. To him, she was still the same student he had taught years earlier, and that was the impression he shared with reporters. That observation stood out for many people. Catherine has lived through years of intense public attention, constant media coverage, major personal challenges, and serious health treatment, all while carrying out public duties. Even after everything she's experienced, Jim said she had not changed in the ways that mattered most.
Quickly and overnight, it's going to take generations, and I'm keen to support this for the long term.
Whether people agree with that view or not, it reflects the opinion of someone who knew her long before she became a senior royal, making his comments especially meaningful. Of course, some people questioned whether the encounter had really been spontaneous. Because royal appearances are usually planned so carefully, A few observers wondered if even an emotional moment like this could have been arranged in advance. It is a fair question to ask, and it became part of the wider conversation surrounding the visit. Some even speculated about whether Jim Embry's presence at the museum that day was simply a coincidence or something that had been expected all along. That theory runs into one major problem. According to publicly reported information, there was no advance notice that one of Catherine's former teachers would be volunteering at the museum that day. The meeting was not included in the official briefing documents, and reports indicated that Palace communications staff were not expecting it either. Based on those accounts, the encounter appears to have happened naturally rather than as part of the planned schedule. Over more than a decade of public life, Catherine has built a long public record through her actions. Royal protocol is designed to keep official engagements organized, predictable, and carefully managed. It is unusual for a royal to suddenly step away from the planned flow of an event to warmly greet someone who was not expected to be there. That is exactly why this moment drew so much attention. By choosing to embrace her former teacher, Catherine created a moment that felt deeply personal. It was not a carefully written press statement or a planned social media post. Instead, it was an unscripted interaction that many people found memorable and genuine. The footage spread so quickly because many people saw it as a genuinely unexpected moment. It did not feel like a carefully scripted exchange or a polished public relations event. Instead, it appeared natural, and that is what caught people's attention. In a time when audiences often question whether public moments are planned, an interaction that seems authentic can stand out in a big way. That is one reason the video was shared so widely. The publicly reported facts are straightforward. The meeting took place during an official visit to the National Maritime Museum in Cornwall. Jim Embry, a retired history teacher from St Andrew's School in Pangbourne, Berkshire, was volunteering at the museum that day. Reports indicated there had been no advance notice about his presence, and his name was not included in the official briefing documents. After the visit, Jim told reporters, "She hadn't changed at all, just as lovely and kind as she was 25 years ago." Those comments added another layer to a reunion that few people expected. Catherine's work through the Royal Foundation has consistently focused on early childhood development, reflecting her long-stated belief that the earliest years of life have a lasting impact. Her personal video message about her cancer diagnosis, released in March 2024, was also delivered directly in her own words. Meanwhile, the Cornwall visit itself had been carefully planned weeks in advance, with routes, timings, and official arrangements already in place for both William and Catherine. Taken together, these details point to an encounter that appears to have happened naturally within a highly organized event. The available evidence suggests Catherine saw someone she recognized from her past and chose to greet him with warmth, creating a moment that resonated with many people watching. The world called Diana the People's Princess, and for many, that title reflected the way she connected with people. Catherine has never tried to present herself as Diana or invite those comparisons, and it is important not to force that narrative. Even so, during that unexpected moment in Cornwall, many observers noticed a familiar quality. In front of cameras she had not called for and a crowd she had not arranged, she paused her official schedule to focus on one person who mattered to her. That person was Jim Embry, a retired history teacher volunteering at the museum that day. He was not a visiting dignitary or someone listed as a VIP guest, yet Catherine chose to greet him with genuine warmth, creating a moment that stood out far beyond the day's planned events. It also highlights how the influence of a teacher can travel across generations in ways nobody could predict. Jim once taught Catherine in a classroom in Berkshire. Years later, Catherine shared that she now passes many of those lessons on to George, Charlotte, and Louis. One day, one of those children is expected to become king. Without ever knowing where every lesson first began, that future monarch may still carry values that trace back to a dedicated history teacher who simply did his job with care decades earlier. That is what made the Cornwall reunion so memorable. For many viewers, it did not come across as a performance, but as a sincere and personal interaction. After the visit, Jim told reporters she hadn't changed at all. His words reflected the opinion of someone who had known Catherine long before royal life, offering a perspective that added even more meaning to an already remarkable reunion. There is another reason this moment continues to resonate with so many people. Royal events are usually remembered for speeches, ceremonies, and official photographs. This visit is remembered for something that was never written into the schedule. A brief reunion between a former student and her teacher became the part of the day that people kept talking about long after the event ended. That reaction says something interesting about what audiences notice. Carefully planned appearances have their place, but unexpected moments often leave the strongest impression. They cannot be recreated on command because they depend on real memories, real relationships, and genuine emotion. That is why this encounter stood out from countless other royal engagements that followed every rule from beginning to end. For Jim Embury, it was likely a surprising reunion with a student he had taught decades earlier. For Catherine, it was a chance to thank someone who had shaped her life during her school years. The exchange lasted only a short time, but its impact reached far beyond the museum walls. It became a reminder that the people who influence us early in life are often remembered long after classrooms, lessons, and school uniforms are left behind. Sometimes, the smallest unscripted moments become the ones that last the longest. In Cornwall, a carefully organized royal visit unexpectedly turned into a story about gratitude, respect, and the lasting impact one dedicated teacher can have on a student's life. Even decades later, the story also shines a light on something that rarely makes headlines. Teachers often never know how far their influence will reach. A lesson shared in an ordinary classroom can quietly shape decisions, values, and relationships for years to come. Most of that impact happens out of public view, with no cameras and no applause. That is exactly what made this reunion so meaningful to many people. Jim Embury did not appear to be looking for recognition. He was simply volunteering at the museum when an unexpected meeting unfolded. Yet, in just a few moments, the public caught a glimpse of a connection that had lasted for more than 2 decades. It was not built on royal titles or public status. It was built on respect between a teacher and a former student who never forgot the role he played in her life. That is why the footage continued to spread across news outlets and social media. People were not only watching a royal engagement, they were watching a reminder that genuine appreciation can leave a lasting impression. In a world where so much is carefully organized, a simple and heartfelt interaction often stands out the most. For many viewers, the Cornwall reunion became more than just another royal headline. It became a story about memory, gratitude, and the lasting influence one person can have without ever realizing just how far those lessons will travel. Jim Embury's words stayed with many people after that reunion. She had not changed at all. Those simple words carried real weight because they came from someone who knew Catherine long before she became one of the most recognized women in the world. They offered a rare glimpse into how someone from her past sees her today, despite everything that has changed around her. As Catherine continues to take on an even greater role within the royal family while raising George, Charlotte, and Louis, many people will be watching to see how her approach continues to evolve. Her next chapter is already taking shape, and it raises important questions about the future direction of the institution and the legacy she hopes to leave behind. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and share it with others who follow the royal family. We'd also love to hear your thoughts, so leave a comment below. And don't miss our next video, where we'll explore what Catherine has built since her cancer diagnosis, and why many believe it marks a different approach from what the monarchy has seen before.